Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mother. So we're going to be doing Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 8, text 15. That's where we start.
Yes.
That, is that correct? Everybody agree?
Yes,
All right.
Prabhuji.
So with my not so good glasses, we'll start. Text 15. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karahu Vichar. Vichar karile chitte pave chamatkar. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. So, if you remember, the previous verse said, unless one gains understanding through logic and argument, how can one decide upon a worshipable deity? So, this is an answer to that question, basically. Okay, let's read the purport. Any volunteers?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read.
Please go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this connection that people in general, in their narrow-minded conception of life, create many different types of humanitarian activities. But the humanitarian activities inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are different. For logicians who want to accept only that which is proven through logic and argument, it is a fact that without logic and reason, there can be no question of accepting the absolute truth. Unfortunately, when such logicians take to this path without the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they remain on the platform of logic and argument and do not advance in spiritual life. However, if one is intelligent enough to apply his arguments and logic to the subtle understanding of the fundamental spiritual substance, he will be able to know that a poor fund of knowledge, established on the basis of material logic, cannot help one understand the absolute truth, which is beyond the reach of imperfect senses. The Mahabharata therefore says, Achintyaha khalu ye bhav na tams tarkena yojayet. Mahabharata Bhishma Par 522. How can that which is beyond the imagination or sensory speculation of mundane creatures be approached simply by logic? Logic and argument are very poor in spiritual strength and always imperfect when applied to spiritual understanding. By putting forward mundane logic, one frequently comes to the wrong conclusion regarding the absolute truth, and as a result of such a conclusion, one may fall down to accept a body like that of a Chekhov.
Great. Thank you, Prabhu. So, a really very good point is being made here, and that is your mundane logic and argument comes from your mundane mind and mundane brain. And therefore, to make the jump from that mundane platform to something that's spiritual is not possible. So, therefore, if you try to understand something that is spiritual, like the absolute truth, with the mundane logic, you're bound to become frustrated and not get it. And therefore, um, um, to get to the spiritual fact, you have to get beyond that mundane logic. And the next couple of paragraphs will explain what that means. So, next paragraph, please.
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Yes. Despite all this, those who are actually inquisitive to understand the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, though through logic and argument, are welcome. Krishnadasa Kaviraja Goswami addressed them. Please put Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy to your crucial test. And if you are actually a logician, you will come to the right conclusion that there is no personality more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. Let the logics compare all the result of other humanitarian work with the merciful activities of Lord Chaitanya. If their judgment is impartial, they will understand that no other humanitarian activities can surpass those of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Right. Thank you. So the point being made here is that you can use any kind of mundane humanitarian work and cannot compare with the humanitarian work that Lord Chaitanya did. And again, in the next paragraph, we will explain further, but just very short, any mundane humanitarian work is done at the level of the body, which is destructible, is temporary. The work that Lord Chaitanya did was at the level of the spiritual, spirit soul rather, which is eternal, and therefore is the real humanitarian work. And again, this will explain further in the next paragraph. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can try Prabhu.
Charitamrita, please go ahead.
Everyone is engaged in humanitarian activities on the basis of the body. But from the Bhagavad Gita 2.18, we understand Antavanta imi deha nityasyotaha sarirnaha. The material body is ultimately subject to destruction, whereas the spiritual soul is eternal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philanthropic activities are performed in connection with the eternal soul. However, one tries to benefit the body, it will be destroyed, and one will have to accept another body according to his present activities. If one does not, therefore, understand the science of transmigration, but considers the body to be all in all, his intelligence is not very advanced. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, without neglecting the necessities of the body, imparted spiritual advancement to purify the existential condition of humanity. Therefore, if a logician makes his judgment impartially, he will surely find that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Mahavandanya Avatara, the most magnanimous incarnation. He is even more magnanimous than Lord Krishna himself. Lord Krishna demanded that one surrender unto him, but he did not distribute love of Godhead as magnanimously as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami offers Lord Chaitanya his respectful obeisances with the words Namo Mahavandanyaya Krishna Prema Pradaye Tel Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvisha Namaha. Lord Krishna simply gave the Bhagavad Gita by which one can understand Lord Krishna as he is. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also Krishna himself, gave people love of Krishna without discrimination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother. So once again, as I was saying before, Lord Chaitanya benefited the spirit soul, mundane philanthropists benefit the body. And so no matter how much compassion you have, but it's limited to the benefit of the body, then it's a material compassion which is not long-term benefit. So for example, you see somebody hungry, you give him food, well, a few hours later, he's going to be hungry again. It's just not a long-term benefit. You know, you can take any other example, somebody's cured of cancer or whatever, but the body's going to die anyway. But when the benefit is to the soul, which is eternal, then whatever work you have done to benefit that person, that lasts eternally. And that is what Lord Chaitanya did. So what was Lord Chaitanya giving? Chaitanya was giving something that even Lord Krishna did not, even though they are one and the same. So Lord Krishna said, you surrender to me, then you understand who I am, and I'll take care of your sinful reactions. But Lord Chaitanya said, just come to me, I'll give you love of Krishna, which even Krishna did not do. So that's a much higher compassion, much higher magnanimity that Lord Chaitanya showed. This is why the Pranami mantra that Rupa Goswami wrote or said to him, so Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prabhadaya. Mahavadanya is greatly, greatly beneficent. And why so greatly? Because he gave the love of Krishna, Krishna Prabhadaya. Okay. All right. Next verse. Number 16. So is another very famous verse, and if you can, please try to memorize it. Bahut janma kare yadi shravana kirtan tabu tanna paye Krishna pade prem dhan. If one is infested with the 10 offenses, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get the love of Godhead. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The ultimate benefit, ultimate goal of chanting is to obtain love of Krishna. But if we chant for millions of births and don't get that, then something is lacking in the chanting. That's what's going to be explained in terms of the offenses against the holy name. So let's read the purport. Not a lot of people today, so somebody I must repeat.
Yes,
Yeah,
Prabhuji, I'll do.
Go ahead, yeah.
If one is infected with the 10 offenses, that is the one purport, no, Prabhuji?
Purport, yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in this connection that although one may go on chanting the Hare Krishna mantra for many, many years, there is no possibility of attaining the platform of devotional service unless one accepts Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One must follow strictly the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given in the Shikshastakam. Tarnat api sunitena taro jiva sagisnuna amaninam mana dena Chaitanya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all senses of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. One who follows this direction, being freed from the 10 kinds of offenses, becomes successful in Krishna consciousness and ultimately reaches the platform of loving service. So, to the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So the point being made here is that unless we follow the instructions of Lord Chaitanya that he left in Shastakam, specifically verse number 3, which talks about the necessity of humility and tolerance and the tendency to give respect without expecting respect. And only in that mood when we chant, we have the hope of getting love of Krishna. If we don't do that, not going to happen. So humility is one of the prerequisites for coming to the point where we will not commit offenses against the holy name. I'm going to see why in a very shortly, but that's one point to remember, and we'll discuss that in more detail later. Okay, let's do the next paragraph, please.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Swati, go ahead, please.
One must come to the understanding that the holy name of the Lord and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself are identical. One cannot reach this conclusion unless one is offenseless in chanting the holy name. By our material calculation, we see a difference between the name and the substance. But in the spiritual world, the absolute is always absolute. The name, form, qualities, and pastime of the absolutes are all as good as the absolute himself. Thus, one is understood to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he considers himself an eternal servant of the holy name and in the spirit and in this spirit distributes the holy name to the world. One who chants this in this spirit without offense is certainly elevated to the platform of understanding that the holy name, the holy name and the personality of Godhead are identical. To associate with the holy name and chant the holy name is to associate with the personality of Godhead directly. In the Bhakti Ras Amrit Sindhu, it is clearly said, Sarvan Mukhe hi Jivan Dau Swayan Ev Sfurati Adaha. The holy name becomes manifest when one engages in the service of the holy name. This service is a submissive attitude, begin with one's tongue. Sno Sevon Mukte hi Jiva Dahu. One must engage his tongue in the service of the holy name. Our Krishna Association movement is based on this principle. We try to engage all the members of the Krishna consciousness movement in the service of the holy name. Since the holy name and the Krishna are non-different, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are only chant the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, but also do not allow their tongue to eat anything that is not first offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord declares, Patranam pushpanam phalam patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhakteya prayachati tad aham bhakti uphratam ashnami prayat atmanaham. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Bhagavad Gita 9:26. Therefore, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has many temples all over the world, and in each and every temple, the Lord is offered these foods. On the basis of his demand, the devotee chant the holy name of the Lord offenselessly and never eat anything that is not first offered to the Lord. The functions of the tongue in devotional service are to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and eat prasadam that is offered to the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, you're muted, Prabhu.
Thank you for pointing it out. So a chain of things have been mentioned here. Starts with, unless we have humility, tolerance, tendency to not expect respect but give respect, unless we chant in that mood, we cannot chant without offenses. Unless we chant without offenses, we cannot come to the understanding that the holy name of the Lord and the Lord is identical. Okay? And only when person comes to the understanding that the holy name and the holy name of the Lord and the Lord is identical, and in that mood distributes the holy name to the world, then he will succeed. Okay? So once again, if you're chanting without offenses, you'll come to the point where you understand that the holy name of the Lord is not different. And with that understanding, you preach, you become very successful in doing that. And obviously, the service begins with the tongue. So we talk about chanting the name of the Lord. So the tongue has to be occupied. Okay. And then Prabhupada mentions that tongue has two functions. One is the vibrating the holy name, and this is honoring prasad. Okay. Text 17. Jnanatah sulbhamuktir bhuktir yagyadi punyata seyam sadhana sahastre sahar hari bhakti sudurlabha. By cultivating philosophical knowledge, one can understand his spiritual position and thus be liberated. And by performing sacrifices and pious activities, one can achieve self-gratification in a higher planetary system. But the devotional service of the Lord is so rare that even by executing hundreds and thousands of such sacrifices, one cannot obtain. So you can do all the speculation, philosophy you want, you may get liberation, the Sayuji Mukti. You can perform all the pious activities and we go to heavenly kingdom. But neither one, even performed hundreds of thousands of times, will give you devotional service. That is so rare and so much above both those things. So let's read the purport. If you want, you can skip the Sanskrit if that's hard.
I can
read, Prabhu.
Go ahead, please, yeah.
Prahlad Maharaj instructs, Matirna Krishne paratah swato va mito bhi padyate graha vratanam naisham matistavad urukramangrim sparshatyanarthapagamo yattadarthah mahiyasam padarajobhishekam nishkinchananam na vrinita yavat. These shlokas are to be discussed. Their purport is that one cannot obtain Krishna Bhakti or the devotional service of the Lord by official execution of the Vedic rituals. One has to approach a pure devotee. Narottama Das Thakur sings, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Payeche Keba, who has been elevated without rendering service to a pure Vaishnava. It is the statement of Prahlad Maharaj that unless one is able to accept the dust from the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava, there is no possibility of achieving the platform of devotional service. That is the secret. The above mentioned Tantra Vachana, quoted from the Bhakti Ratamrita Sindhu, is our perfect guidance in this connection.
Yeah, thank you. So here, making the point that philosophical knowledge or pious activities, performing sacrifices is not going to get you to the platform of devotion service. So in that regard, Prabhupada has quoted a verse that Prahlad Maharaj speaks to his father, Matirna Krishna Partha Swatova Mithovi Patti Grihvata, that people are so much into the self-gratification that either on their own, Swato, or Parta, by other people telling them, or Mithovi Patti, or in an assembly, they cannot understand what Krishna means. They cannot understand how to focus their mind on Krishna. And the second one, especially talking about, these people, their mind again just never even touches the Lord's lotus feet because they're so full of anarthas. So full of anarthas. So unless they take the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees, they have no hope. And similarly, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, that's not mentioned here, Bhakti Vinod Thakur has sung a very wonderful bhajan, Shuddha Bhakat, Charana Renu, Bhajan Anukul, Bhakat Seva, Parama Siddhi, Prema Latikar, which means that the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee is very favorable to performance of devotional service. And that service is the root of pure devotional service. In other words, unless we get the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, we cannot get to the platform of pure devotional service. So that's the most important thing that we have to understand. And this is what Nautama Thakur says, Chariya Vaishnava Seva, Nistar Payeche. If we leave the service of the Vaishnavas, pure devotees, what hope do you have? No hope. So therefore, the point being made here is the secret to come to the platform of devotional service is to serve a pure devotee. Okay? Not philosophical knowledge and not sacrifices and pious activities. Okay. Text 18. Another verse that we should try to memorize. Wonderful verse.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a question.
Go ahead, Gayatri.
So, Prahlad Maharaj, I just like he didn't have any association, right?
He did.
He did?
He did before he was born.
Yes.
That's
yes.
all he needed. But go ahead.
So I guess that's what I was wondering, if he didn't have any personal association, like of any, because like we think of the dust of the lotus feet of pure Vaishnavas, you still think of a bodily concept, right? And having that. So he didn't have direct association. I don't know.
He did.
Like,
very much so. Like, in the womb is a person.
yes, of course.
Not well developed, but a person.
So even if we don't understand, even if we don't comprehend what a pure Vaishnava is saying, just being in their presence.
Well, not only that, but Abhimanyu, for example, learned the art of warfare, how to enter a Chakravyuh.
Yes.
He was still in the womb. So if he can understand that, why can somebody not understand devotional service and the principles behind it?
From a pure devotee, yeah.
A pure devotee.
I guess, but my question was actually intentional because, like we listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, right? And we don't have, association of so many of the pure devotees, but we know they're here, like we have Gurujis and we have Maharaj, and I'm just thinking, like, is that good association? Is that the same as what we're talking about here?
Yeah, if you talk about your guru, you better be thinking he's a pure devotee, and the association he's talking about is exactly that. Right? So, yes. There's something else I was going to say. Yeah, but the problem is not the pure devotee. The problem is us, because we're not receiving it. So Prahlad Maharaj said later on, he said, I heard it at the same time that my mother did. She did not benefit from it, I did. They both had the same association. Actually, she had, according to your discussion, she was more, bodily association.
Yes.
Right? But she didn't benefit. Right? Prahlad Maharaj said that himself. She did not benefit because she did not pay attention. She was not receptive. Okay, you want to say something? Go ahead, say it. Right?
That's so interesting. Like somebody who is fully grown and listening is not paying attention, but this, fetus inside the mother's womb was listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, makes the point that ability to receive is equally important. Because pure devotees are there in front of everybody, but not everybody is benefiting. Lord Krishna was here 125 years, but not everybody benefited. But if you don't receive it, what can you do?
Yeah. Thank you, Babaji.
Sure. Okay. So 18, another wonderful verse, please, if you can memorize it. कृष्ण यदि छूटे भक्ते भुक्ति मुक्ति दिया कभू प्रेम भक्ति न देन राखे न लुकाया. If a devotee wants liberation or material sense gratification from the Lord, Krishna immediately delivers it. But pure devotional service he keeps hidden. Krishna does not easily give it. And that's what we're talking about. You have to be receptive. And you have to be begging for it. You have to be trying to get it. Beg again and again and again. Then you'll get it. And again, it's going to be explained why that is the case. Okay, 19. Rajan Patir Guru Alam Bhavatam Yadunam Devam Priya Kulpati Vacha Kinkaro Vaha Astu Evam Ang Bhagavan Vachitam Mukundo Muktim Dadati Karhachit Ismana Bhakti Yogam. The great Saint Narad said, my dear Maharaj Yudhishthir, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is always ready to help you. He is your master, guru, God, very dear friend and head of your family. Yet, sometimes he agrees to act as your servant or order carrier. You are greatly fortunate because this relationship is possible only by bhakti yoga. The Lord can give liberation, mukti, very easily, but he does not very easily give one bhakti yoga because by that process he is bound to the devotee. So here's the reason.
Very nice.
So in the previous verse, you said, Kabhu prem bhakti na den rakhin lukaya. He does not give the prem bhakti, no devotion service. Keeps it hidden. But he'll give mukti, liberation, he'll give bhukti, enjoyment, very easily. If that's what you want. But your devotion service, no. Why? Because by that process is bound to the devotee. He comes under the control. Does not want to be under the control of anybody and everybody. Only some very special people. Okay. Yes, Shalini Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I just had one doubt. So
Yeah.
Prabhu, here it says that Lord will give liberation but not very easily give bhakti yoga. But Prabhu, won't you get liberation only if you do pure devotional service, Prabhu?
No, remember we talked about Gyanis who do mental speculation. They get Sayuji Mukti, which is merging the Brahman effulgence. So you're saying that one he'll give very easy, no problem.
Okay, you're right. Got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay, let's read the purport. It's a long purport. Go ahead. Somebody.
Second.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This passage is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 5.16.18. While Sukadeva Goswami was describing the character Rishabhdeva, he distinguished between Bhakti Yoga and liberation by reciting this verse. In relationship with Yadus and Pandavas, the Lord acted sometimes as their master, sometimes as their advisor, sometimes as their friend, sometimes as the head of their family, and sometimes even as their servant. Krishna once had to carry out an order of Yudhishthira's. By carrying a letter, Yudhishthira had returned to Duryodhana regarding peace negotiations. Similarly, he also became a chariot driver of Arjuna. This illustrates that in Bhakti Yoga, there is a relationship established between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the devotee. Such a relationship is established in the transcendental mellows known as Dasya, Sakya, Vasalya, and Madhurya. If a devotee wants simple liberation, he gets it very easily from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as confirmed by Bilva Mangala Thakura. Mukti Swayam Mukilitanjali Sevate Asman. For a devotee, mukti is not very important because mukti is always standing on his doorstep, waiting to serve him in some way. A devotee, therefore, must be attracted by the behavior of the inhabitants of Vrindavana who live in a relationship with Krishna. The land, water, cows, trees, and the flowers serve Krishna in Shantarasa. His servants serve him in Dasya Rasa, and his cowherd friends serve him in Sakhya Rasa. Similarly, the elder gopis and gopas serve Krishna as father and mother, uncle, and other relatives. And the young gopis, the cowherd girls, serve Krishna in conjugal love.
Thank you. So the point being made is that if he is a pure devotee, Krishna will do anything and play any role for them. The example of Pandu has been given here. He acts as their master, their advisor, their friend, the head of the family, and even the servant or order carrier. And similarly, talks about in Vrindavan, there are all these five mellows that Krishna has a relationship with these devotees in one of those five mellows. But because of the purity of their love, in any of those mellows, Krishna comes under the control of those devotees. Okay, let's do the next paragraph.
May I read, Prabhuji?
Please go ahead, Mataji.
While executing devotional service, one must be naturally inclined to serve Krishna in one of these transcendental relationships. That is the actual success of life. For a devotee, to get liberation is not very difficult. Everyone, even one who is unable to establish a relationship with Krishna, can achieve liberation by merging into the Brahman effulgence. This is called Sayujya Mukti. Vaishnavas never accept Sayujya Mukti, although sometimes they accept the other forms of liberation, namely Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya, and Shashti. A pure devotee, however, does not accept any kind of mukti. He wants only to serve Krishna in a transcendental relationship. This is the perfectional stage of spiritual life. Mayavadi philosophers desire to merge into the existence of Brahman effulgence, although this aspect of liberation is always neglected by devotees. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakura described this kind of mukti, which is called Kaivalya, or becoming one with the Supreme, has said, Kaivalyam Narakayate. Becoming one with the Supreme is as good as going to hell. Therefore, the ideal of Mayavad philosophy, becoming one with the Supreme, is hellish for a devotee. He never accepts it. Mayavadi philosophers do not know that even if they merge into the effulgence of the Supreme, this will not give them ultimate rest. An individual soul cannot live in the Brahman effulgence in a state of inactivity. After some time, he must desire to be active. However, since he is not aware of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and therefore has no spiritual activity, he must come down for further activities in this material world. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32. Aryaha krichenana param padam tataha patanti ado nadrita yushmad anagrayaha.
Can finish it.
Sorry, Prabhuji, there are pictures.
Pardon?
There are pictures. Should I continue last paragraph?
Yeah, just finish. Yes, Padre.
Because Mayavadi philosophers have no information regarding the transcendental service of the Lord, even after attaining liberation from material activities and merging into the Brahman effulgence, they must come down again to this material world to open hospitals or schools or perform similar philanthropic activities. Wonderful.
Thank you. So, as mentioned in the previous paragraph, a devotee does not accept any kind of mukti. Even though Krishna sometimes insists, no, take one. No. Devotee says no. And definitely not to Sahaja Mukti, which is merging in the Brahman effulgence. And then Prabhupada points out that actually, Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur compares Sahaja Mukti to being in hell. And who wants to be in hell? So therefore, we don't want that. And Prabhupada points out that even if somebody merges in the Brahman effulgence, because there's no activity, but the nature of the soul is to be active, after a long time, the soul wants to become active, but because there's no activity there, they fall down to what planet Earth, where they become some kind of philanthropist, opening hospitals, schools, charity, and all those kind of things. But again, all that is useless. But if one of those comes in contact with pure devotee, then they make very fast progress because they're already pure. Text 20. Hen prem Shri Chaitanya dila jatha tatha jagai madhai paryant anyer ki katha. So that translation first. Now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has freely given this love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere, even to the most fallen, such as Jagai and Madhai. What then to speak of those who are already pious and elevated? So in the previous 2 or 3 verses, we have discussed how rare it is to obtain the pure love of God. And that even Krishna hides it and only gives it to those who really deserve it because of their pure devotional service. So now in this verse, saying that love of Krishna that is so rare and so rarely given by Krishna himself is given freely by Lord Chaitanya. And not just freely to anybody, but even to the most fallen. You can imagine Jagai Madhai. So what to speak of those who are pious and elevated. So they may be jnanis, they may be karmis, but if they're pious and elevated, they're better than most fallen Jagai and Madhai. So if they can get the love of Krishna, then, of course we have hope. Okay, let's read the purport.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, may I read it?
Aditi, please go ahead.
The distinction between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift to human society and the gift of others is that whereas so-called philanthropic and humanitarian workers have given some relief to human society as far as the body is concerned, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers the best facilities for going back home, back to Godhead with love of Godhead. If one seriously makes a comparative study of the two gifts, certainly if he is at all sober, he will give the greatest credit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was with this purpose that Kaviraj Goswami said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Kara Vichara Vichara Karile Chitte Pabe Chamatkara. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful.
Right. So compare the two people. One is giving relief to the body, and one is giving relief to the soul by giving the love of Godhead. Who's better?
To relieve to soul.
Right. So that doesn't take much brain to come to that conclusion. And but there's still some people who are foolish enough not to understand that point. Okay. Next paragraph.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Actually, go ahead, please.
If you are indeed, oh no, sorry. Sri Nirottam Das Thakur says, Dina hina yata chila hari name udarila tara sakshi jagai madhai. The two brothers, Jagai Madhai, epitomize the sinful population of this age of Kali. They were most disturbing elements in society because they were meat eaters, drunkards, women hunters, rogues, and thieves. Yet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered them, to say nothing of others who were sober, pious, devoted, and conscientious. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that, to say nothing of the Brahmanical qualified devotees and Rajarishis, Kima Punar Brahmana Punya Bhakta Rajarasya Tatha. Anyone who by the association of a pure devotee comes to Krishna consciousness becomes eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.32, the Lord thus declares, Mam hi partha vipashritya ye api sriya papa yonaha striyo vaishyas tatha shudraste api yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
Thank you. So again, a very wonderful bhajan by Nakas Thakur has been pointed out. And same thing, that Lord Chaitanya delivered everybody simply by the use of Harinam. He purified everyone, even people like Jagai and Madhai. And then Prabhupada is quoting a couple of verses of Bhagavad Gita. One is saying where anybody can attain supreme destination by taking shelter of him. And then 933 was actually before that, Kimva Punar Brahmana Punya Bhakta Rajashya. Then what to say about those who are devotees, who are Rajarishis, and who are pious people, after having come to the material world, which is temporary, anityam, they also attain my supreme abode by doing what he says in 934, which is Man Mana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskar, which is the next verse after these two. So he says, that's all you just chant my name, of course, unoffensively, and you'll come to me. He says, you'll come to me guaranteed. Right? Mame Vashashi Yuktevam Atma Mat Parana. He says, you'll come to me guaranteed. So therefore, we have to simply take the shelter of the Lord and perform devotional service in that mood. Okay, next paragraph.
Shall I go, Prabhu?
Please go ahead, Mataji. Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the two fallen brothers, Jagai and Madai, but the entire world is presently full of Jagai and Madais. or in other words, woman hunters, meat eaters, gamblers, thieves, and other rogues who create all kinds of disturbances in society. The activities of such persons have now become common practices. It is no longer considered abominable to be a drunkard, woman hunters, meat eaters, thief, or rogues, for those elements have been assimilated by human society. That does not mean, however, that the abominable qualities of such persons will help free human society from the clutches of Maya. Rather, they will entangle humanity more and more in the reactions of the stringent laws of material nature. Once activities are all performed under the influence of the modes of material nature. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvesha. Because people are now associating with the modes of ignorance, tamoguna, and to some extent passion, rajoguna, with no trace of goodness, sattvaguna. They are becoming increasingly greedy and lusty. For that is the effect of associating with these moods. Tada rajas tamo bhava kamalobha 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 dayasa chaye. By associating with the two lower qualities of material nature, one become lusty and greedy. Bhagavad Gita 1.2.19. Actually, in modern human society, everyone is greedy and lusty, and therefore the only means for deliverance is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtana movement, which can promote all the Jagais and Madais to the topmost position of Sattvaguna or Brahmanical culture. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.18 and 19 states, नस्त्य प्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी तदा रजस्तमो भाव कर्मलोभा दायश्चये चेत एतैरन्वाविधं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति.
Next
Considering
translation. Yeah, go ahead.
Considering the chaotic condition of human society actually wants peace and tranquility, one must take to the Krishna consciousness movement and engage always in Bhagavad Dharma. Engagement in Bhagavad Dharma dissipate all ignorance and passion, and when ignorance and passion are dissipated, one is freed from greed and lust. When freed from greed and lust, one becomes Brahmanically qualified, and when a Brahmanically qualified person make further advancement, he becomes situated in the Vaishnava platform. It is only on this Vaishnava platform that it is possible to awaken one's dormant love of Godhead, and as soon as one does so, his life is successful.
Right. Thank you. So Prabhupada is pointing out that everyone acts under the modes of material nature, but as Kali Yuga is progressing, the lower modes, which are the ignorance and passion, are becoming more and more predominant, and therefore people are acting under the modes of ignorance and passion, and therefore they're getting more and more lusty and greedy. Lusty for ignorance, greedy from passion. And as long as they are there under the influence of those two modes, we should go on, and all the bad behavior of, proper points of women hunters, gamblers, thieves, meat eaters will continue. And so much so that it becomes more and more accepted behavior, So then he's saying the only hope is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, which can save these people. He's quoting these two verses from Bhagavatam. It basically says that unless one takes to Bhagavad Dharma, which is the chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, the ignorance and the passion will not be dissipated. But once the mode of ignorance and passion is gone, the person will be freed from any greed and lust. And then they'll be on the platform of mode of goodness. And when a mode of good person under the mode of goodness makes further advancement, he comes to what's known as Vaishnava platform or devotee platform. So that's the only way. So, and once you get to the Vaishnava platform, then only is possible to awaken your dormant love of Krishna.
No.
So that's the process which explained. So what is the main thing? Nityam Bhagavat Sevi. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So if we are every day serving a pure devotee and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that's the Bhagavad Dharma. Then we'll get rid of the lower modes of material nature. We'll come to Brahmanical of mode of goodness. And from there we can advance to Vaishnava platform of devotional service. And as we advance in that position, we can come to the level of love of Krishna. When we do that, then life is successful. Okay, let's do the next paragraph.
Shall I read, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mohini.
At present, human society is specifically cultivating the mode of ignorance, tamoguna, although there may also be some symptoms of passion, rajoguna. Full of kama and lobha, lust and greed, the entire population of the world consists mostly of Shudras and a few Vaishyas, and gradually it is coming about that there are Sudras only. Communism is a movement of Shudras, and capitalism is meant for Vaishyas. In the fighting between these two factions, the Sudras and Vaishyas gradually, due to the abominable condition of society, the communists will emerge triumphant, and as soon as this takes place, whatever is left of society will be ruined. The only possible remedy that can counteract the tendency toward communism is the Krishna consciousness movement, which can give even communists the real idea of communist society. According to the doctrine of communism, the state should be the proprietor of everything. But the Krishna consciousness movement, expanding the same idea, accepts God as the proprietor of everything. People cannot understand this because they have no sense of God. But the Krishna consciousness movement can help them to understand God and to understand that everything belongs to God. Since everything is the property of God and all living entities, not only human beings, but even animals, birds, plants, and so on, are children of God. Everyone has the right to live at the cost of God with God consciousness. This is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement.
Thank you. So again, similar point is being made. Mode of ignorance and mode of passion are predominant these days, affecting all the people. That's why we see so much lust and greed, all the bad behavior. Today in the world, most people are Shudras. Shudras means those who are not really following any Vedic rules and regulations because they've not studied them. Few Vaishyas, the business people, those who have some idea, but they have not really studied the Vedas. So either one has not studied the Vedas, one may be a little better off than the other, but they're fighting. And as we have seen, these days, Shudras are winning. The more ignorant you are, the more you win. The more power you have. And we're seeing it, in our own life right now. But we're saying, but the only remedy to all this is that if people understand that Krishna is the proprietor, and we are all Krishna's children, therefore we deserve a share of Krishna's property, which is everything. So in that sense, it's communism. Krishna consciousness, and that's his communism, in that everybody has a share. Nobody owns it. State or the Krishna owns it, but we all have a share. Like children have a share the property of their father, and if everybody keeps that mood, then life's good. And Krishna consciousness movement is trying to establish that particular point and make people understand that look, don't fight. It's not your property to start with. It's Krishna property, but you have a share. Take your share and live happily with everybody else. Text 21. स्वतंत्र ईश्वर प्रेम निगूढ़ भंडार विलायल जाने तारे न कहले विचार. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is fully independent. Therefore, although it is the most confidentially stored benediction, he can distribute love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without consideration. So Lord Chaitanya is the Lord. He can do whatever he wants. He's pretty independent. And therefore, he can give the most confidential benediction, love of Krishna, anybody without any consideration, because he's supremely independent. He can do that. The purport.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, go ahead.
Perfect. This is the benefit of Lord Chaitanya's movement. If one somehow or other comes in contact with the Hare Krishna movement without consideration of his being a Sudra, Vaishya, Jagai, Madai, or even lower, he becomes advanced in spiritual consciousness and immediately develops love of Godhead. We now have actual experience that throughout the entire world, this movement is making many such persons lovers of God simply by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared as the spiritual master of the entire world. He does not discriminate between offenders and the innocent. Krishna Prema Pradayate. He liberally gives love of Godhead to anyone and everyone. This can be actually experienced as stated in the next verse.
Thank you. Yeah, so again, the whole Krishna consciousness movement is distributing what Lord Chaitanya was distributing, the holy name. Of course, Lord Chaitanya can give the love of Godhead at the same time, and we are encouraging people to get love of Godhead simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But because it is coming from him, in Lord Chaitanya, everybody's taking to it. And as you can see today, I don't think there's any place in the world where the holy name is not being chanted. Okay. Text 22. Adyapi dekhe Chaitanya naam jai loye Krishna preme pulakashu vival se hoye. Whether he's offensive or inoffensive, anyone who even now chants Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda is immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy and tears fill his eyes. So anybody, chanting properly, Lord Chaitanya's name is overwhelmed with ecstasy, tears in their eyes. This is the purport. Any volunteers for the purport?
Shall I read, Prabhu? Yeah. Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
The Prakrita Sahajiyas who chant Nitai Gaura Radhe Shyama have very little knowledge of the Bhagavata conclusion, and they hardly follow the Vaishnava rules and regulations. And yet, because they chant Bhaja Nitai Gaura, their chanting immediately evokes tears and other signs of ecstasy. Although they do not know the principles of Vaishnava philosophy and are not very much advanced in education, by these symptoms they attract many men to become their followers. Their ecstatic tears will, of course, help them in the long run, for as soon as they come in contact with a pure devotee, their lives will become successful. Even in the beginning, however, because they are chanting the holy names of Nitai Gaura, their swift advancement on the path of love of Godhead is very prominently visible.
Yeah. So Prabhupada's talking about the Prakrita Sahajiyas. simply because they're taking the name of Nitai Gaur, they are able to exhibit the signs of ecstasy, which is tears, laughing, hair standing on end, etc. But these practitioners don't understand the philosophy, not very advanced in education, but just from the symptoms, they're able to attract other people and have them become their followers. But because they're chanting the name of Nityananda Chaitanya, if they come in contact with a pure devotee, they'll make very fast advancement because they're receptive. The contact with a pure devotee is still necessary, but they're receptive to the teachings of the pure devotee, and therefore they benefit from the association, and they can attain love of Godhead. Text 23. Nityananda bolite hoy Krishna premodaya aulai sakala ang ashru ganga boy. Simply by talking of Nityananda Prabhu, one awakens love for Krishna. Thus all his bodily limbs are agitated by ecstasy, and tears flow from his eyes like waters of the Ganges. Wow. 24. Krishna nama kare aparadhir vichar. Krishna bolile aparadhir na hoy vikar. There are offenses to be considered while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one does not become ecstatic. So interesting. There are offenses to be considered while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one does not become ecstatic. Let's try and understand that. Let's read the purport. Volunteer?
Shall I go, Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It is very beneficial to chant the names of Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because by chanting these two holy names, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, one immediately become ecstatic. And if he then chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he becomes free of offenses. There are 10 offenses to avoid in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The first offense is to blaspheme great personalities who are engaged in distributing the holy name of the Lord. It is said in the Shastra, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya, Lila 7.11, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pravartana. One cannot distribute the holy names of Hare Krishna Mahamantra unless he is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should not criticize or blaspheme a devotee who is thus engaged. Sri Padmapuran states, Satam Ninda Namaha Paramam Aparadham Vitanute Yata Khatim Yata Katham Yu Sahate Tad Vigraham. To blaspheme the great saintly persons who are engaged in preaching the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the worst offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. One should not criticize a preacher of the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one does so, he is an offender. The Nam Prabhu, who is identical with Krishna, will never tolerate such blasphemous activities, even from one who passes as a great devotee.
Thank you. So, a very important point is being made. This Krishna Shakti Vinana hai tar pravartan. One cannot distribute the holy names of the Lord, which is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, unless he is empowered by the Lord. Which means anybody who is engaged in the distribution of the holy name has been empowered by the Lord, which means he's very dear to the Lord. And therefore, if you blaspheme such a person, it's the worst kind of offense at the lotus with the holy name. And holy name is identical with Krishna. So the expression used here is Nam Prabhu. It's a personality. Prabhu means a personality. So holy name is not abstract. It's not energy. It's not something that's written. It's a personality. That is why that is how rather it's identical with Krishna. And therefore, Nam Prabhu will not be happy when you criticize a preacher of the glory of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So to be very, very careful. And when Nam Prabhu is not happy, Krishna is not going to be happy. Okay? And it doesn't matter who you are. If you blaspheme, you're in trouble. Okay, let's see the next paragraph.
Can I, Prabhu, read?
Gayatri, go ahead, please.
The second Namaprad is described as follows. Shivasya Shri Vishnu Ya Iha Gunanamadi Sakalam Diya Bhinnam Pasyet Sa Khalu Hari Namahita Kraha. In this material world, the holy name of Vishnu is all auspicious. Vishnu's name, form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental, absolute knowledge. Therefore, if one tries to separate the absolute personality of Godhead from his holy name or his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, thinking them to be material, that is offensive. Similarly, to think that the names of demigods, such as Lord Shiva, are as good as the name of Lord Vishnu, or in other words, to think that Lord Shiva and other demigods are other forms of God and therefore equal to Vishnu, is also blasphemous. This is the second offense at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. The third offense.
Sorry. Let's make sure we all understood the second offense. So, to consider, to consider the Lord to be separate from his name, form, qualities, and pastimes, thinking they're material, is offensive. That's one part of the second offense. Second part of the offense is to consider the demigods like Lord Shiva or Brahma as good as the name of the Lord or independent of the Lord is also an offense. Okay, so two parts of second offense. One is considering the name, form, pastime, qualities separate from the Lord himself. Second, to consider demigods to be as good as or independent of Krishna or his holy name is offensive. Okay, let's do the third one.
The third offense at the lotus feet of the holy name, which is called Garud Avagya, is to consider the spiritual master to be material and therefore to envy his exalted position. The fourth offense, Shruti Shastra Nindanam, is to blaspheme Vedic literatures such as the four Vedas and the Puranas. The fifth offense, Arthavada, is to consider the glories of the holy name to be exaggerations. Similarly, the sixth offense, Hari Namni Kalpanam, is to consider the holy name of the Lord to be imaginary. The seventh offense is described as follows. Namno baladhyasya hi papa buddhir na vidyate tasya yamerehi shuddhi. To think that since the Hare Krishna mantra can counteract all sinful reactions, one may therefore go on with his sinful activities and at the same time chant the Hare Krishna mantra to neutralize them is the greatest offense at the lotus feet of Harinam. The eighth offense is stated thus. Dharma vrata tyaga hutadi sarva shubhakriya samyam api pramadaha. It is offensive to consider the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra to be a ritualistic ceremony. Performing religious ceremonies, following vows, and practicing renunciation and sacrifice are all materialistic, auspicious activities. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra must not be compared to such materialistic religiosity. This is an offense at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. The ninth offense is described as follows. Ashraddhadhane vimukhe api ashranvati Yas chopadeshaha shiva nama pradaha. It is an offense to preach the glories of the holy name among persons who have no intelligence or no faith in the subject matter. Such people should be given the chance to hear the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, but in the beginning they should not be instructed about the glories or the spiritual significance of the holy name. By constant hearing of the holy name, their hearts will be purified, and then they will be able to understand the transcendental position of the holy name. The 10th offense is as follows. Shrute api nama mahatmae yah preti rahato nara aham mamadi parmo namni so api aparadhakrit. If one has heard the glories of the transcendental holy name of the Lord, but nevertheless continues in a materialistic concept of life, thinking, I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine, aham mameti, and does not show respect and love for the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is an offense.
Yeah. So, okay, so the 10 offenses described. I don't know if I want to go to the details here, but any questions I can answer. Otherwise, we move to text 25. Okay.
Prabhuji, sorry, just a quick question.
Goodbye.
So it talks about blaspheming the devotees who have dedicated their life for the propagation of the names of the Lord. So does that include, Shiksha Gurus or those who are teaching scriptures as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else?
Babuji, can I be very honest?
Say again?
It's a daunting task when we look at this, all the aparadhs. Like, how can anybody chant without committing these aparadhs? Some of them maybe you don't, but you're going to commit one or you're going to commit something. No?
Yeah. So it's very rare, no question about it. Remember, it started with Durlabha. That's how we started. It's very rarely given. There's a reason why it's so rare. Right?
Yes.
It's very hard.
Yes.
It's very hard. It's not for everybody. But the point is, you have to know what the target is. You have to know what the goal is. I don't know if you ever watched soccer game.
Yes.
Well, if you notice, soccer game typically is 90 minutes long. And maybe typical score is 1-0, 2-0, a 3-1, 2, or something like that. In 90 minutes, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 goals are scored. Rest of the time, the ball goes from one end to the other end. Continuous back and forth, back and forth. So what's happening? It's not getting to the goal it's supposed to get because of all the offenses.
Yes.
In the soccer terminology, it's called defenders, but they're really offenders, keeping you from getting to your goal.
Yes.
And interestingly, there are 10 defenders in any soccer game. Right? Well, there's a goalie.
Yes.
Right? And 10 offenses.
Yes.
Defenders keeping you from the goal. But you have to keep trying. Try to go around it, going through it, whatever. Despite them, you try to score a goal. With 90 minutes, maybe 1, maybe 2 goals are scored. So very few of us make it to that point. But if you know where the goal is, then you try to go to that direction. One day you will make it. But
Very nice analogy, Prabhuji.
Oh, thank you. But if you don't even know where the goal is, then how will you ever get there? And if you did get there, how will you know you got there?
Yeah.
So keep trying. That's the whole idea.
I do have one more follow-up question, Prabhuji. So if it's so rare, that means a pure devotee is rare. But just, in this class itself, at the beginning, it was mentioned that, if you serve the pure devotee, then and do the chanting, then you're good. Then how do you find that pure devotee?
Well, the point is you should not get stuck on who's pure devotee, who's not pure devotee. Lord Chaitanya is teaching us, you be the humblest, humbler than a blade of grass. And you be amanina, which means don't expect respect. And you be manadain, which means give respect to everybody as if they are pure devotees. That's the expected behavior. Whether they are pure devotees or not your concern. You respect them as if they are.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very offensive behavior. Let me decide if you're pure or not. But who can be the judge?
I know.
Who
Yeah.
can be the judge?
Exactly.
Right? So unless you're more qualified, how can you be the judge?
Yes.
So if you think you are the purest devotee, then you can go ahead and judge who's pure or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah,
Prabhu.
Usha, Hare Krishna, how are you?
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. So the fellow devotees, we can see that none of us is actually.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I'm not sure I'm following. Can you come closer to the phone or whatever?
Oh,
You're breaking up.
yeah, Prabhu.
You're still breaking up. Now we hear nothing, which means you're really broken up. Okay. I think she's trying to fix whatever the problem is. So we'll come back to her. Okay. In the meantime, let's do 25.
Yes, Prabhu, I will ask later, maybe.
Oh, you're here. Okay. Try again.
Yeah.
Okay, we hear nothing. We heard
Yeah,
nothing.
I said, Prabhu, but with the we all neophyte devotee. Okay, I can ask later. Prabhu, I can ask later then, maybe.
Okay, sure.
Some other day.
Okay, no problem. Okay, 25. Tad ashvasharam hridayam batedam yadghriyamaner harinamadheyai na vikirye tat yada vikaro netre jalam ghat ruheshu harshaha. If one's heart does not change, tears do not flow from his eyes, his body does not shiver, his bodily hairs do not stand on end as he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it should be understood that his heart is as hard as iron. This is due to his offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. So let me ask you, which one of us on this call gets tears flowing from their eyes, body shivering, bodily hair standing on end when they chant Hare Krishna Mantra? Please raise your hand. You're going through those symptoms, raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay, so what does that mean? That means we have long ways to go. Okay, it also means our heart is as hard as iron. Reason, offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. 10 offenses. Okay, let's read the purport.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes, Mother, go ahead.
Lila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur commenting on this verse, which is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.24, remarks that sometimes a Mahabhagavat or very advanced devotee does not manifest such transcendental symptoms as tears in the eyes, whereas sometimes a Kanishta Adhikari, a neophyte devotee, displays them artificially. This does not mean, however, that the neophyte is more advanced than the Mahabhagavat devotee. The test of the real change of heart that takes place when one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is that one becomes detached from material enjoyment. This is the real change. Bhakti pareshanu bhavo viraktir anyatra cha. is it Bhagavatam 11.2.42? If one is actually advancing in spiritual life, he must become very much detached from material enjoyment. If it is sometime found that a Kanishta Adhikari, that is neophyte devotee, shows artificial tears in his eyes while chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but is still completely attached to material things, his heart has not really changed. The change must be manifested in terms of one's real activities.
So, contrary to what I said a minute ago, it could be that you're all Mahabhagavas because you don't manifest your symptoms of ecstasy. You're hiding them. But Kanishta Adhikaris, the neophytes, they manifest them. Anyway, jokes aside, the point being made is that the real test is, has your attachment to material things gone down? Advanced devotee is completely detached from material things. Neophyte devotee, regardless of what symptoms they manifest or exhibit, but their attachment to the material things is still there, and therefore they're not advanced devotees. It's simple litmus test. Okay. You want to stop here? Any questions or comments? We can take that.
Prabhu, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
So, Prabhu, we are talking about pure devotees, and we don't want, sorry, let me put it this way, that we think we are the pure devotees. That's why we just keep serving ourselves. We feel others are not. We don't see others as pure devotees. So, how can we advance? This is the one thing, we think we are the only one who has good qualities, or, I don't do this way, I don't do this way. We compare and we make ourselves big.
Well, if you're perfect, then there's no room to improvement. If you're already perfect, there's no room for improvement. So there you go. Right? So only when you feel there's something lacking in you, you would want to improve. Right? Yeah, Rajan Prabhu?
Sorry, Prabhu, I have the same point, but on the another extreme.
Okay.
So someone who feels, oh, I am nowhere close to where I no, I don't know. It's like much under the ground, 5 feet under the earth. So, like for that moment, what is the positivity that can take us up? Because at that point, one can think that whatever is happening, or so the devotees you see outside, we feel like, oh, they're exalted, so we are never going to be there. So the effort and the sincerity sort of dissipate. So how to counter that? Because that might be more practical for me.
Okay, I guess the extreme example of humility, but okay, let's continue. If you think you have room to go, but if you think that the distance is so large, I can never travel that distance. Therefore, I'll never fill the gap. So what to do? Is that your question?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. So basically, Krishna says, only when you say you're no good, only when you say, I have no hope, but you still want, then I'll help you. It's like when an archer wants to shoot an arrow, what's the first thing he does?
He draws the bow, pulls it back.
Pulls back, right? And that's what you would be doing, saying, I have no qualifications, but I need to increase the tension between where I am and where I want to be. And so therefore, on the one side, I'm saying I don't deserve it. But on the other side, I'm saying I want it. And when you understand that tension and we work on that tension, then with the arrows released, we get to the target. So again, in simpler words, is when the desire is there, but a recognition of lack of ability and qualifications there, then all those things become positive to encourage Krishna to help you. He becomes more inclined to help you when he sees somebody's really trying very hard, wanting very hard to achieve. The eagerness is there. But at the same time, the recognition of lack of ability and qualifications there as well. And Krishna says, I'll help you. I help you because you want me.
Yeah.
Right? So let Krishna help you in that situation. But obviously, you're playing with Krishna, therefore the genuinity is there, has to be there. It cannot be artificial humility. It cannot be artificial desire. Like when 50 people listening, you say, I want Krishna, I want Krishna. You know, when 50 people are listening, you say, I'm so humble, I don't deserve anything, I have no qualification. But inside you're thinking, I'm the Prabhu of everybody. So can't play games with Krishna. So as long as on both sides you're sincere, Krishna will help. Remember, there's no separate process required to gain bhakti, to gain love of Krishna. Chanting the name of the Lord is the means, it's the process, as well as the end. So just do that. So did that answer your question, Bo, or did I miss the point?
No, Prabhu. Genuine want. So that is something that should always be there.
Yes.
So that's a very good point. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that has to be there. Unfortunate for us is that Krishna is sitting in the heart as Paramatma. He can hear us think. He knows our thoughts. He knows our feelings. He knows our emotions even when we don't express it. So we can't fool him.
Yep.
But again, if the sincerity is there, eagerness is there, Krishna will help. That's his promise. Anything else? Okay, all right. Vansha kalpitarubhyasya kripasindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Jai. Thank you all.
Thank you all so much.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so
Thank
much.
you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you, Dhanwad.
Thank
Hare
you. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Usha, you can call if you want. You can ask your question later on. Okay, Hare Krishna.